Yo, what's up, YouTube? So I've been meaning to do this video for a while, and it's about this whole idea of trying to compare our success to the success of white people or just Caucasian people living in America. Because even if black people had their shit together since the 1950s and we never fell off, we would still, be in a position where we couldn't even really hold a candle, in my opinion, to what the Caucasians here in America did. And there's reasons to that, and I don't want black people to feel offended, and I don't want, people who are white or whatever to get an ego boost. I'll talk about that throughout the video. Now, first of all, when we talk about how other groups are doing well, you have to factor in this whole idea that you're looking at percentages. So if we say what group has the highest percentage in college, or what group has the highest percentage of PhDs, or what group has the lowest rate of incarceration, what group has the lowest rate of STDs, and all these other things, you can compare percentages, and you can look at the good percentages and the bad, and you'll say, oh, well, this group's doing well, or Indian people are doing well, or Middle Eastern people. Okay, but if you take what these different groups have built in terms of wealth, and you compare it to that of whites in America, it's still not going to hold a candle. And like I said before, it's not a diss to different foreign groups, and it's not an ego boost to white people. Okay, you have to understand that. Okay, here's an example. If you go to LA, for instance, LA area, there's a lot of money there. Okay, when you get more towards the whole Beverly Hills, Westwood area, and a lot of those people have money, okay, wealth, but they're not necessarily educated. So if you look at the numbers in terms of who has the highest rate of people who are educated, it's not going to show up, right? Because when you have wealth that's passed down, this whole idea of going to college is almost a waste of time. If you know you're going to run the family business, you going to college is just for show. I hate to say it, but it's just for show. I met people in college who were there simply for show, simply because of some technicality that they had to have. Mommy and daddy didn't want them just doing nothing from the time they graduated high school till they really got serious at 27 or whatever. So they're like, no, you need to go to school, or we'll pay for school, or you'll go get your MBA or something like that. But there's a lot of people who don't even do that, right? Their family's caked off, and they just start running the family business after high school, or, just get involved in that area. There's no need for them to go to school because they know what they're going to be doing. So in regards to that group of people, they're not going to show up on a percentage in terms of white people who are educated. Okay? So that can be misleading. But like I said before, if you take the tally of what different groups have built and you compare that to what white people have, what's going to happen? See, what people don't factor in is that the racial climate, not just for black people, but for other people, changed a lot with the civil rights movement. That's why I get upset sometimes when this black people of America kind of accept being at the bottom, when it was your civil rights movement that kind of opened up the door for so many other groups in America. That's what I hate, because a lot of foreigners seem to forget how they were treated as well prior to this whole 1950s civil rights movement. Okay, so even like I said before, even if black people, we were on the ball, we could only really truly start doing things to the 50s and the 60s when the atmosphere allowed us to do so. But white Americans didn't have that problem. Okay, they were making money as soon as the 1900s, and before that, there was no, if you're at the top, right, no one's stopping you from having your own business, no one's stopping you from generating wealth. So it's the epitome of the head start. So to be real with you, the way I look at it across the board, a lot of people didn't really get going to the 50s and the 60s when just the social and racial climate changed. That's why I understand why Jews have their gripes, but I don't really get too upset, because at the end of the day, they were still allowed to do what they had to do. Okay, you go back to maybe the early 1900s or different times in American histories, or where Jewish people may say they had it bad, but at the end of the day, you still were able to have your own businesses. You were still able to support yourself. Okay, at the end of the day, people would rather do business with a Jew than do business with a black person, or a Mongoloid, or whatever they used to call them. right? So even then, they have their opportunity to do their thing, right? How do you run Hollywood? How do you have a significant role in the whole jewelry industry? All these things are old money. You watch the profiles of these different billionaire, $1 billion, $1 million companies, and you look at when they were founded, and they were founded in 1920, 1910, 1930, 1940. Okay, what was the racial climate for Americans who were non-white? Think about it. What was the racial climate? So what could you have done? Even if you had your shit together, what could you have really done? Right? It's like you're banging on the gate and you're all ready to go, but you can only really get started till those gates are open for you. And even then it was never open. It was a window. So you're trying to get in, right, through a window where you have one group who's, going through the floodgates, and they've been going through the floodgates for, how many years? So even if you're on point, you just can't compare, right? And to me, it's damaging. It really is damaging, because you have so many black people who think they're doing well. I don't care if you're a millionaire. I don't care if you're doing this, that, and the third. It's not comparing to what white people do. And that's okay. That shouldn't be the standard. That shouldn't be the rubric. Hold on really fast. I think I had some other notes that I wanted to cover. Hold on. Where did I put it? Okay, I can't find it. But anyways, hopefully you guys understand where I'm coming from. Even if we're doing well, the type of well that other groups are doing isn't because they're competing, okay, with white America on that level in terms of we have just as much as you. No. At the end of the day, it's about their percentages. But in terms of actual wealth, actual money, white America still has it. And for any group to try to compare themselves, you're setting yourself up for failure. How can you... It's common sense to not want to compare yourself to somebody who started a race before you. Right? But when we compare ourselves, we are giving certain people in the white America this whole right to say, yeah, see, we all started off equally, and you guys just didn't catch up. But in reality, it's not the case. But when you compare yourself to them and we're trying to be like them, this, that, and the third, you're pretty much saying, well, if you can compare yourself to somebody, that means you can get on their level. But in reality, you can't. And it's not about your inability. It's just the fact that there's a time difference. How the hell can you go from the founding of America, right, whenever America was founded, up to the 1950s and 60s when the racial climate at least tolerated people who were non-white, right, and act as if you're going to catch up? Think about it. So you have 300, 400 years a head start, and all of a sudden you think that you're going to catch up from 1950 to 2010, or, maybe 50 to 70 years. It's foolish. It truly is foolish. When we look at a lot of foreigners who come to America and are doing well, what a lot of people don't know is they're backed by their own money. The Asian people, they have their own banks. So when everybody was losing their houses a couple of years ago, they were buying. You turn on the TV, you never saw an Asian person talking about, man, I'm losing my home, this, that, and the third. No, they have their own banks. For those who don't know, in California, you can drive to LA, okay? On the way to LA, you pass a couple of cities. Even in LA, all you see are Asian banks. Asian banks here, Asian banks there. They come over here to study, right? Foreign students, they come to study, and they're caked off. They're driving BMWs. They're just doing well because they're operating off of their own money. So a lot of the money that you see isn't even money that was necessarily built in America. That comes from their own homeland, own homeland, and they're bringing it over here. I knew a guy who from India. Dad, was doing business out there, so he was caked off. So he was coming over here. So the money that he was bringing came from India. It wasn't necessarily even coming in here. So even when you look at these different minority groups, it's not so much what they've built in America. A lot of it, too, is what they brought over from their own country. And I'm not saying this to put black people down or to bring anybody else up, but what I'm saying is you can't go about trying to compare yourself to different people, because at the end of the day, you're not truly understanding their dynamics, all the things that went into them being successful. And by doing so, you are making your challenge that much harder. You have a whole bunch of people who think that they're going to compete with white people. It's going to take a whole lot of generations. I don't even know how many, but a whole bunch of generations for us to catch up. And at the end of the day, it's not even about right now. Our biggest problem isn't trying to compete with them in terms of what they've accumulated in terms of wealth. We have to increase our percentages in good areas and lower our percentages in bad areas. So the number of people who graduate from high school or who have stable employment needs to go up, and the number of people who are incarcerated need to go down. Those are the type of things where we have to compete with other people. But in terms of the accumulating wealth, no. So I got to stop it here. Take it easy. God bless.